Hi everyone, welcome to the library section of the next short attention span webinar. Kelly, I would imagine with two little girls in your house, you do a fair amount of reading.
You would be. I do so much reading, Bill. I've read 40 books this year already. Because my goal was 50 for the year, and I have a little trending thing on Goodreads that tells me I'm right on track. So I'm pretty impressed with myself for that.
I have to tell you, did I tell you what I gave my youngest daughter for her birthday in August?
No.
I gave her 5 books. 5 books that made a huge impression on me. 4 Agreements, How to Win Friends and Influence People, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, A New Earth.
Basically your entire list that's on the next slide.
My entire list, yeah, exactly. And the last one was the five love languages. So I gave her those 5 books. That was back in August. Well, here it is. My birthday was just the other day. She gave me 5 books. I was so impressed.
Oh.
And she gave me, I'd never read the classics. I never read Homer. I never read the Iliad. And she gave me all these, she gave me The Great Gatsby and all these other things. And she said, all right, Dad, I'll read your books if you read mine. I loved it.
Fantastic. That kid. I love that kid.
Huh? I know, she's amazing. So, they're all amazing. But so today let's talk about recommended books because, both Kelly and I are readers. I've become a reader now that I've overcome the whole ADD dyslexic thing. But the value of reading, if you are a veteran like me and like Kelly, then this gives you a new perspective. That gives you motivation. I'll be reading something in a book, Kelly, like Brand Warfare, great book on marketing and branding, and you kind of slap yourself on the forehead. You say, "Man, I forgot that." It's not like you're reading these things for the first time, but you're hearing them again, and I find that all very, very motivational. The other thing is, especially if you're new, this is going to build a new skill. This is something that's instantly applicable. Now, what we did was, I asked Kelly to come up with a list of books that she recommends for someone, and I did the same thing. I tend to drift into non-sales books. Okay, Kelly, your list was more salesy. Correct?
Mine's actually 50-50. And I also want to say, folks, that Bill gave me 10 minutes to do this. So in my defense, if I'm not going to be able to scramble and give you every author's name and publisher, it's because he literally asked me for this 5 minutes before we sat down to do these recordings today. So that's my piece there.
I just came up with this idea, and I said, "Oh, this is a good one." Then I cranked out my list.
It is a good one.
It's not like I studied stuff, but... So, okay, all right. Here's my list. The best book on sales ever written, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Absolute best book on sales, has nothing to do with sales. I highly recommend it. If you've read it, read it again. If you've read it twice, read it 3 times. This thing has got so much information in it for everyday life. It's a remarkable, remarkable book. Written in the late 1930s. There's a lot of American history in there, written by Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie was a big fan of Abraham Lincoln's, and he was a biographer of Abraham Lincoln. So there's a lot of stories in there about how Lincoln managed his army and his government and his campaign. Very interesting. That's number 1. And Kelly, you've read that one, right? Okay.
Not in a while. I think I'm going to go back and do it again, because you told me to.
I think the girls should definitely read that too when they're old enough.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements is not a sales book. The 4 Agreements was written by a guy by the name of Don Miguel Ruiz, R-U-I-Z. He is alive. He lives in San Diego. And a very, very interesting book that talks about, it's a self-help kind of book. And he says, look, the key to happiness is to be impeccable with your word, make no assumptions, take nothing personally, and always do your best. And it's a quick read, and I got to tell you, there's not a day that goes by when I don't think to myself, am I living up to those 4 agreements? I do this every single day. Something comes wrong, whether I'm in an argument with someone, a customer issue has come up, my sales are down. I'll say, are you doing your best? It's a fascinating read. What about that one, Kelly? Have you read that?
I've read it about 4 times. I've probably bought 10 copies for other people, and I believe that it is absolutely vital that every person read this book without question.
I like that one. This next one was Stephen Covey, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year. Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this was a real breakthrough. This was something, it was a different way of applying time management principles. And it's kind of a cliche, this book, as is the first one, How to Win Friends. But he makes some very, very interesting points. And this is one that's on my list to go back and reread, as a matter of fact, as soon as Madeline's done with it. But it was a terrific book as a way of understanding and getting new ideas from a time management standpoint. The fourth point is a new book. This one's called Using Technology to Sell. This was written by a friend of mine, full disclosure, by a guy by the name of Jonathan London. This is available on Amazon. Jonathan sent me a copy to read and if you go up on Amazon, you'll see my review up there. I thought it was very, very comprehensive, extremely well done. It talks about, just as it says, what are the tools that are available to us as salespeople, and how do we utilize them to maximize sales efficiency. Extremely well done. It's not a humorous book. It's not something not a real anecdotal book, but I thought it was very comprehensive, and I found it very useful. In fact, he sent me an email and he said, "I haven't seen your review yet." And I emailed back and I said, "I'm too busy plagiarizing." So. The last one is one that I recommend that you get on CD, and that is Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by Napoleon Hill. This is I've got the CD series that actually Chrissy's got, my marketing manager, and when I am in the dumps, when I have a really bad stretch, I pop this in, and in 10 minutes, boom, I'm over. I'm right back up there. This thing is amazing. It's like the Red Bull of motivational books. That's a real keeper. So that's my list. Kelly, let's talk about yours.
Yeah, so there's a whole series of the vetoes, which is very important top officer. And these, I think, are great for really beginning to understand the difference in language when you're talking to a C-level person, somebody that's got the word chief in their title, as opposed to maybe an admin or a manager or a purchasing manager. So it's just really about understanding what things they need to hear, what they focus on, what keeps them up at night, and how to create the language that will get response from them. So there's Getting to Veto, there's 5 Minutes with Veto, there's a whole lot of these books, and I think my copy's downstairs, so I don't even remember the titles of the authors, but it's definitely worth spending a little time taking a peek through these. And I think, Bill, as you mentioned earlier, we don't necessarily have to read these books cover to cover to really understand the salient points of them. I mean, sometimes these are great books to skim, or focus in on a chapter that's has a particular relevance to you at a particular time. So that's all I wanted to say about that. But Creative Visualization is actually definitely not a sales book. It's by an individual called Shakti Gawain, and it really is more, you might want to call it new agey or a little bit more of a touchy-feely kind of concept, but it really does teach you how to get very clear about what you want and the path to making that happen. So one thing that I'm always so struck by when I deal with a new company or a new individual is a lack of goals and a lack of a clear focus of what they're trying to accomplish. So again, something like visualization will help you figure out what you want, not only from the business standpoint, I want N number of new sales and this many new clients, but even bigger picture stuff like what you want out of your life and what you want your life to look like and what you want your work life to look like and what you want that balance to look like. So a very, very, very worthwhile read there. Another non-sales book, this would definitely qualify under the self-help, is called Loving What Is, which is really the salient point of this book is to really deal with facts. Deal with what you know as opposed to what you think you know. So it really, one of the exercises in it is to take a particular situation that you're finding yourself challenged by and saying to yourself, what if the exact opposite of this were true? And what do I actually know to be true? Because this is so applicable in sales. There's so much we don't know about our customers. We walk around going, this guy's not calling me back. I don't know how to get into him. I don't know what to say. And we really have to remember that there's very little about an individual that we know for absolute fact. So we have to just really try to stick with what we know, operate based on actual facts and figures and past experiences and things like that. So again, not necessarily a sales book, but some very good salient points that really do spill over into our personal lives as well. This last one is one actually that my husband gave me to read called,
Kelly, isn't that Byron Katie that wrote that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I've read that before. Yeah.
Thank you. So this last one, my husband's boss gave it to him to read, and then he gave it to me to read, which is called Speak Like a CEO, and the kind of subtext there is Secrets for Commanding Attention and Getting Results. To me, this book is all about confidence. So many of us, I think, are really kind of slinking around in our sales careers thinking with this, kind of notion in the backs of our heads that we're bothering people and that we're a nuisance. And we really, again, if we treated ourselves like we were the leaders of our organizations and that we were very, very important, vital people that had ideas and problems to solve, and we carried ourselves that way, we would be exuding this level of confidence that would absolutely change the way that we, it would change the results, certainly, and it would change the way we operate. So it really is about speaking with confidence, and there's a lot, there's a lot of complicated, things behind that. But again, really, when we think about changing our view and our vision about who we are and what we do is very, very important. As this is what I say to my clients all the time, you have a very legitimate reason for picking up the phone. You are there to solve problems and help people. You are here to serve. And that should never, ever, ever be viewed as anything other than something of tremendous value. It's not a nuisance. It's not getting in somebody's way. So again, to me, this book is all about building confidence and causing you to sit up straight, throw your shoulders back, and say, I'm awesome. So that's why I like this one.
Love that.
Thanks.
Love that. All right, well, listen, good feedback subject. If you've got some books that you think we should add to the list, maybe we'll do a part 2 at some point, reader's feedback or something. So please send that in. That would be wonderful. And that's going to be it for this week. We'll talk to you all next week on the Short Attention Span webinar. Kelly, thank you very much.
Thanks, Bill.